New York City, a symbol of wealth, ambition, and power.
The home of Wall Street, billion-dollar towers, and some of the world's most powerful corporations. For decades, it's been a place where money talks and politics listens. But in 2025, something historic happened. A democratic socialist, Zohran Mamdani, shocked the establishment and became the mayor of America's largest city. It wasn't just an election victory. It was a rebellion, a message from ordinary New Yorkers who were tired of rising rents, endless commutes, and a city that seemed to serve the few instead of the many. This is the Mamdani Effect, how a socialist shook the foundations of New York's power, and why it could change politics far beyond one city. Zohran Mamdani's story begins far from New York. He was born in Kampala, Uganda, to Indian parents, both respected academics and outspoken critics of injustice. His father, Mahmoud Mamdani, is a well-known scholar of colonialism and politics. His mother, Mira Nair, is an award-winning filmmaker. When Zohran was a child, the family moved to Queens, New York, one of the most diverse places on earth. There he saw the two faces of the city, the wealth of Manhattan's skyline and the daily struggle of working-class neighborhoods. Before politics, Mamdani worked as a housing counselor. He spent his days helping tenants fight eviction, often against powerful landlords. That work shaped his belief that the system was built to protect property, not people. In 2020, he ran for the New York State Assembly on a socialist platform, and won. Suddenly, this young community organizer from Queens became a rising voice of the American left. When Mamdani announced his run for mayor in 2025, few took him seriously. Political insiders called him unelectable. Wall Street ignored him. The press dismissed him as a protest candidate. But Mamdani's campaign didn't follow the old playbook. There were no billionaire donors, no glossy ad firms. Instead, he built a movement, thousands of volunteers from across the city, cab drivers, delivery workers, teachers, and students. They knocked on doors, organized rallies in public parks, and spoke to neighbors in multiple languages: Urdu, Spanish, Bengali, Arabic, and English. His message was simple but radical: housing is a human right. Transit should be free.
Power belong to the people, not corporation.
For many struggling New Yorkers, it wasn't ideology, it was survival. Mamdani's campaign drew comparisons to Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but it had a uniquely local flavor. He talked about subway delays, food prices, and the daily cost of living in a city where everything felt unaffordable except despair. By late October, polls began to tighten. The establishment suddenly realized he could win, and panic spread through New York's political class. On November 5, 2025, the unthinkable happened. As results poured in, Mamdani took an early lead, first in Queens, then Brooklyn, then even parts of Manhattan. Zohran Mamdani, 34 years old, the son of immigrants, a democratic socialist, had become the mayor of New York City.
Crowd flooded the streets of Astoria and Jackson Heights.
Red banners waved. Taxi drivers honked in celebration. For the first time in decades, working-class New York felt like it had taken back the city. Mamdani's victory speech was short, humble, and defiant. He said, "For too long, we've been told power doesn't belong in our hands. Tonight, we've proven that it does." That was the birth of what people began calling the Mamdani Effect. The Mamdani Effect quickly became shorthand for a political awakening, a shift in who holds power and how it's used. For decades, city politics had been dominated by developers, lobbyists, and corporate donors. Mamdani's victory showed that an organized grassroots movement could beat money, not just influence it. It also sent shockwaves beyond New York. Progressive groups in Los Angeles, Chicago, and even London cited his campaign as proof that left-wing populism could win big in urban centers. But the effect wasn't only political, it was cultural. Mamdani's win energized immigrant communities who had long felt invisible. He spoke not just for them, but as one of them. His story, a Muslim immigrant's son leading America's largest city, symbolized a generational change in who gets to represent power. Young voters called him the people's mayor. Conservatives warned he was the beginning of socialist America. And both sides agreed, politics in New York would never be the same again. Mamdani's platform promised sweeping reforms, a citywide rent freeze, free public transit within 5 years, higher taxes on luxury real estate, expansion of public housing and childcare, turning abandoned hotels into homes for the unhoused. He also pledged to take on the city's powerful landlords and the MTA, two institutions most mayors avoided confronting. Supporters saw him as bold. Critics called him naive. Either way, he had something rare in politics: authenticity. He didn't speak in sound bites. He spoke from experience. And that connection made his vision feel less like a fantasy and more like a movement. But winning an election and wielding power are two different things. Almost immediately, Mamdani faced pushback. The real estate lobby warned of an economic collapse. Business groups threatened to move investment out of the city. Conservative media painted him as a radical who would turn New York into Venezuela. Even within his own party, moderate Democrats distanced themselves, urging him to be pragmatic. City Hall became a battlefield of ideas, and Mamdani found himself surrounded by bureaucratic walls built over generations. The question looming over his first year was clear: could he actually deliver? Whether he succeeds or fails, Mamdani's rise has already changed something fundamental. Around the world, from London to Mumbai, activists now cite the Mamdani Effect as proof that working-class organizing can challenge elite systems of power, even in the heart of capitalism. His story shows how identity, grassroots organizing, and moral clarity can combine into political force. It's also a reminder that democracy isn't just about ballots. It's about belief, the belief that ordinary people can shape their own destiny. Zohran Mamdani's journey from a housing office in Queens to the mayor's office in City Hall isn't just a story about one man. It's about a city rediscovering who it belongs to. Whether the Mamdani Effect becomes a lasting revolution or just a spark in history will depend on what happens next, and on whether New York's people can keep the power they've claimed. Because in the end, this story isn't just about shaking power. It's about redefining it.